Today, I'm going to share with you the 3-step method that was inspired by my spiritual master, Sai Ma, that helped me and thousands of my clients live a remarkable internal and external life. Now, I first learned this early in my path of transformation, about probably 17, 18 years ago now. I had this life where I was living in Boulder, Colorado, and on the surface, if someone was looking at it, would probably think like, hey, this guy's kind of got it figured out. Like I was pretty fit and relatively healthy. I had some great passions and interests. Like I was a high performance rock climber. I was a mountain athlete. So I'd like get up at 2 a.m. and run into the mountains and free solo a mountain, which means like climb it without any protection or gear and stuff that's pretty technical that most people would use lots of ropes and things for. I'd go running in the mountains all day. I've had this amazing experience. I'd be literally on the mountaintop, have this profound experience, run down and be like, that was the best day ever. I was in grad school at that time studying psychology, which I really enjoyed. I had friends that I met in grad school and a community that I was building there for the couple of years that I lived there. I was dating and that was going okay, it wasn't totally working out, but I was kind of enjoying the experience and all of that. What else? Like everything kind of on the outside was working. And what happened is that nothing really lasted for me. Meaning, even those days when I was on a literal mountaintop, I would come down from the mountain and I would feel pretty bad. Shitty. Not so great. Again, by the end of the night, right? I was occasionally smoking weed, but not that much. And there's nothing wrong with that, actually. But just for me, it didn't really work. The relationships I had, the friends that I had were good, but they wouldn't last. Like the good wouldn't last in the relationship, I would say. The relationship would be okay with the friends, and I still talk to a number of them to this day, but it was like so up and down. Everything in my life was up and down. Professionally, jobs that I had would really enjoy for like 3 months, and I'd be like, I'm burned out, I'm done with this, right? I didn't have any maturity, you could say, in my professional world. In my romantic world, same kind of thing. It'd be like really intense for a minute, and then like the juice would there wasn't any passion left, and like they would either break up with me or I'd break up with them. Like nothing really lasted. And my life was filled with chasing these highs and then trying to avoid the lows that would inevitably come. Now here's what I learned through all of this is that our external world is the result of our internal world. This is one of the keys I've learned from being a monk over the last 8 years and being on a spiritual and transformational path over the last 20 years, is that however we are on the inside is how our outside world will be. It's always a reflection, or you could say an expression of how we are internally. Our relationships are an expression of how we are internally. Our professional experience, we could say, in the roles that we play, whether it's mother, father, sister, brother, supervisor, employee, entrepreneur, all of that is an expression of how our internal world is. If in my case, my internal world was a mess, I didn't know how to navigate it. So I would just focus on doing outside things to create an inside experience, which is, heck, that's what 99.9% of the world does. I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. It just has, what I've learned is that it just has significant limitations. And I was constantly in the throes of and controlled by what the results I got out there. But the whole time, I was the one creating the results out there. It wasn't out there that it was the starting point. The starting point is always in here. And so things happen. Things happen to me every day that I would say are unpleasant or uncomfortable. But what I've learned is that if there's something that's happening out there that's unpleasant or uncomfortable or isn't what I want to have happen, I don't like to say never and always unless I really mean it. So I think this is the case. I'll just say most of the time because there are probably exceptions. Most of the time, if not always, I look within to see how am I and how is what's happening inside of me creating this external experience. So this is what I learned from all this, right? So let me give you the 3 steps that I practice literally every day and have honed and was inspired by the spiritual path that my beloved Saima has taught me over these many years. And let's get into this. The first step is awareness. The first step in anything is always awareness. Become aware, in this case, of what's going on inside of me. Become aware. If there's an external situation or result or unpleasant thing happening out there in my world, what is unpleasant or uncomfortable or difficult happening inside of me? And just become aware of that. Maybe I'm agitated about something with myself. Maybe I'm agitated about something out there that's hard to admit. It could be anything, but just become aware of whatever's out there that's, let's just call it unpleasant or uncomfortable. What's unpleasant or uncomfortable in here? And just looking for that, not with like an intensity, but just with a relaxed gaze, a contemplation. Maybe it's like going to a park and having a cup of coffee and just being with yourself and allowing that to come. If this is another very long topic that I'll put some more videos about or some more content about, is that intent, results follow intent. So if you have the intent to become aware of something inside of you that's creating an external result, let's say you just kind of take this on, you're like, all right, Jonathan, I'll take this on. Let's take a look. I'll see if this works. Create the intent that I'm going to become aware of the thing inside of me that's creating this external result. So the first step is awareness. Second step, accept whatever you find. Now, here's what I mean about accept. Accept doesn't mean, oh, I'm just going to be this way. Let's say I'll just use agitation. I find this agitation and I'm like, yep, I just got to accept that I'm an agitated person. I'm kind of a D-bag, or whatever it is. Kind of an a-hole. No, that's not the case, right? Accept means that I accept the feeling and that I have this agitation inside of me. It doesn't define who I am. It's not the entirety of my being as a being of light or love or even like a person or a human. It doesn't define me. It doesn't encapsulate me. And it is an experience that I'm having. Yes, I have this agitation inside of me. And just be, accept even. Go beyond being with it, accept it. And this is the technique, is accept it into our heart. It may seem paradoxical to accept something we don't want to be, but this is the paradoxical theory of change that we talk about in psychology and in some spiritual precepts, is that if we can't change until we fully accept how we are. Fascinating, huh? And it's really true. I've been practicing it for 15 or 20 years now. And the more that we resist something, the more that it stays in our awareness because we're pushing against it, which keeps it alive inside of us. So all that to say, accept that, in my case, I have this agitation inside of me. You can even take a deep breath like that, bring your hands to your heart, and just be with that for a few moments. Accept, right? And then the third step is be in action from that place of acceptance. Be in action in your world. Let the awareness and the acceptance inspire you to be in some kind of action in your world. Maybe it's a conversation, maybe it's an email, maybe it's a text, maybe it's a social media post, maybe it's a change in habit, maybe you stay up late, maybe you get up early, maybe you go for a run, maybe you don't go for a run. Let it inspire some kind of action such that that internal state can be expressed into the outside world. Now, here's the thing. You don't really need to do anything, because if your internal state shifts, then automatically the external world will mimic that shift. But if you're in action with it, that means it will shift faster. You will inject that new energy that you transmuted, that you transformed, and that newness into your world, into the relationship or circumstance that isn't pleasurable or that's uncomfortable. So give this a shot. Awareness, acceptance, and action, and see and tell me what you think and leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this, subscribe or like, and I will see you next time. All my best.